Welcome back to Flobo, starring on Netflix. That's a show where I peruse the catalog of Netflix and see of the original films and features that make me go, wowzer. This week we're doing Finding Ohana, but a movie about family. I can't do this alone. I need my content creator family. I need my host family. I need my Rassin family. So once again, please welcome Miss Emily May.
Hey!
How's it going?
Woo! It is going.
Yeah, end of January, you May 2021. We didn't think I didn't think I'll make it this far. How you doing?
I'm good. How is it possible? Let's talk about that. That's crazy. January went by like in a blink.
Besides the insurrection, that was all that we're trying to find.
That's true, and that was only in the first week of the year. So we have a long way to go. But I'm excited. A new month brings new adventures and new movies with you. So it's all good.
Thank you so much for checking in live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. If you have a question about the movie or just something for us in the meantime, we're hanging out with you. And if you're on the audio version, you can check out other episodes over at youtube.com/FloboBoys. But today, we're talking about Finding Ohana. Ohana means family, because they'll tell you that dozens and dozens of times. just a little bit of a...
Just to make sure you didn't forget.
Just a little background. Released yesterday as of this recording, so that's January 29th, 2021.
We're in the know, man.
6.2 rating on IMDb, 88% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Emily May, just overall thoughts about this epic adventure film set in Hawaii for the family?
I mean, I actually really enjoyed it. I don't have kids, so I was watching it with Brandon, and I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. It was family friendly, but adventurous. You didn't know what was going to happen. It was a themed and had references to a lot of the movies that I love, and so I thought it was really fun.
So let's talk about that, because I feel like adventure movies are kind of their own rite of passage. You know, there was the Goonies, there was National Treasure. I mean, do you think this film is strong enough to be that film for a generation later, or am I just doing my own thinking here?
I mean, I think it has references to it. I think it's it has moments that honor those films, but I don't think it's in that level cult classic of Goonies and National Treasure, and Indiana Jones was mentioned 50 times. So it's not going to be at that level, but I like how it's an homage to that, and
Yeah. Question for you though: have you been to Hawaii?
I have.
Tell me all about it.
Oh my God, it is the most magical, most beautiful place that you will ever be. It is the world disappears, and you are on this beautiful oasis of heaven and greenery, and there's flowing drinks, and beautiful oceans. And food that I don't know. It's all amazing. It is magical. The moment you arrive, you're I could stay here forever.
Emily May confirms heaven's United States. Haha, no, I'm just kidding. I've never been, but it was kind of my first experience seeing, I guess, a ground level view of Hawaii. Usually it's romanticized as this magic land, but you get that eventually. But what I liked about this piece was it starts off in New York, gives a little false insecurity. They go, oh wait, 2 New York films back to back.
Exactly, we have a theme. We have a theme going.
But it's forget it. Our main character, Peely, just this goodbye to New York, and this whole thing takes place in Hawaii. And I think I learned a lot about the way the cultures are different and how they go about things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really liked how they infused Hawaiian culture so deeply in this movie, and it's rooted in that, and you have there's the multi-generational aspect of their family and the history of how far they're in Hawaii, they talk about the ancestry of the land, and the land is very sacred, and so I like how they really infuse that into the story.
So let's talk about the actual adventure, right? There was a buried treasure, and depending on what you consider a treasure or is cursed or not, was deep, deep into one of these islands. I'm not sure if they tell us where exactly they are in the island chain, but using geocaching, which I was interested in for 2 weeks of my teens. I was reading up on it, but I've never done it. but it's kind of a giant treasure hunt. People who have gone to different parts of the world put stuff in these boxes, it seems, and then give clues and coordinates.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Out. Yeah, I think they're in Oahu. I think that's where they are.
Got it. That makes sense to me, because Oahu is definitely a dope looking place, or at least from what I can tell. But the whole I do think it was a cool update. The updating of just saying, instead of being like Indiana Jones, being a teacher who wants to find artifacts to keep in a museum, it was just this one girl's like this fantasy of just like the hunt, the treasure. So it didn't feel like less than satisfying when they left it behind.
Yeah, and I love how it's a young girl who is adventurous and curious and wants to explore the world. You know, I love how it's a young girl that wants to do that.
Let's talk about Peely, our main character. I mean, I think it's kind of the first major role for Kiepio, who played a role and had to cover a lot between going on the adventure, being a warm character to her family, especially her granddad and her brother, but then had the tension with her brother. Like, it's a lot for an actress to bear. I mean, did you believe that performance? Did it work for you?
Oh my gosh, I loved it. Like, I believed the conflict and the frustration with your brother, like your sibling, like you're always going to tease each other. You know, there's some tension with her mom a little bit. There's like the heartbreak with the loss of their dad. And so like, it's, she has like the passion and spirit of a young girl trying to like find her place in the world and like, still connect with people. So I feel like she had such a breadth and like spectrum of acting that I was like, this is her first role. Cause I looked it up too. I was like, who is this girl? And she was so good. And she has like one other IMDb credit. And I was like, this girl's going to go places.
Jealous. Speaking of mom, I guess I lived long enough to find Kelly Hu playing mom roles. I'm like,
wow, right?
I guess I am that old. Yeah. I'm knocking on 40's door.
Like we were commenting on like, oh, she went like natural, right? So she like, because most roles she's very like put together, but this was like she went natural with her hair and like it felt really like I like seeing her in this type of role.
I just take me back to late 90s, watching Martial Law with Sammo Hung and Arsenio Hall, and Kelly Hu was there. Like, oh yeah, but I was like, wow, that was 25
But
years
she looks
ago.
Amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
So fantastic. I'm like, you're not a mom.
You're like, I am out the film. Like, treasure hunting is cool.
I'm out. I don't believe that part.
Well, let's talk about like the people that actually live there, the natives, in that loose sense of term. Like the community we meet, we totally meet Pop, and he says to be a person that even though he has mental health issues, is still living off the land and trying his hardest. And we also meet Hannah, which is I guess the romantic interest, right?
Yes, of course.
So how did the dynamic work for you, having these actual native Hawaiians interact with our other Hawaiians who have somehow lived in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, you have like that awkward, that like meet cute that happened, right? Where she's like awkwardly trying to deliver food, and then that it's going to turn into something. Yeah. But I'm a hopeless romantic, so I want to see the romance evolve, and of course it's going to elevate when they go on this treasure hunt adventure. So yeah. I think it was nice that it was like Hana and like the grandfather got to teach them something about Hawaii and about the land and about their culture and where they come from, and like that's important. And so it's like they helped reconnect them to what they might not have known or that they like weren't willing to like reconnect with.
Can I say it was kind of messed up that no matter how much of a jerk Iowani was, him and Hannah ended up together, and poor Ryan had to stand next to her in the closing credits holding up Masubi. Like, what? Ryan was not a bad guy. Why?
Oh, man, I know. Well, and he was kind of like he was kind of like that annoying jerk, right, in the beginning, where you're like, oh, you're so gross, right? Like, don't even say stuff like that. Yeah. But then he kind of like, he almost died, so, you kind of are like, okay, he changed. You got to put everything in there, right? So, like, he had a change of heart, and like,
Fellas, if you think you're a jerk, just get yourself close to death.
Go and find a big spider and have that spider bite you and have your big bubble on your hands.
Speaking of gross, oh my god, it was like yellow towards the end.
It was so yellow. And first of all, if you're in the water and you're jumping around and you're using your hand to climb on things, why hasn't that thing popped? That thing was so pussy. Ooh.
Yeah, I was like, is he going to die? That would be a world twist if he did die,
Right? I was like, oh man.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Emily May. Was it right, though, after all the things they've been through, spider bites and all, to leave the treasure behind?
Yes, it is totally right to do that. You don't
Mm,
bring that treasure, like, it is a serious thing. Like, you do not bring stuff home. Like, when you go to Hawaii, there's like the sacred volcanic rocks, and you do not take those home with you. Like,
right,
there is signs, like, people tell you, do not take that stuff home. It is sacred. There is like bad juju attached to it. Like,
right.
I totally believe that part of it. I'm like, nope, nope, I'm not.
I mean, this isn't some rocks, man. This is like paying off student loans,
I
man.
mean,
Like,
this is like getting like a $30 million mansion. I totally get it,
uh,
but sometimes those deep rooted curses,
yeah,
like what happens when you win the lottery? People,
right.
you hear those crazy stories of people winning like millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, and like they're cursed a year later, where like they lose everything. So I feel like when you come into that much money and that much history, I feel like there's something there.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally would have snapped a couple rings, man. I'm
But you
sorry.
saw what happened. You saw what happened if you snuck it in your pocket, you know?
Right. You get like, okay. Let's look at that last scene though. I mean, having like not the last scene, but having like the apparition show up, chasing
The
people down.
spirits, the ghosts, yeah.
Kind of had a moment of the movie Ghost, right? Having Pot being one of them. It was kind of like the clay pot scene out of Ghost. I don't know how you felt about it. Did it work for you? Did it not work for you?
You know, I didn't. So, like, I kind of saw it going either way. I either saw, I had a feeling that, like, the dad might have something to do with this. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought that, like, I thought Eve would like be so sick like he couldn't move on or something, or like couldn't continue the journey, like something would really happen, and then like the dad would come back and like help him or something. I don't know, that
Yeah,
was like my imagination going of like, oh, maybe there was a spirit that would come back to help him, and like that would be his dad.
yeah,
Or like the grandfather would pass and get sick and then like would help him in some way in a spiritual sense. But I kind of I liked it. It was a swerve. I feel like it gave the family closure. What?
it swerved the marks, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
Yeah,
cool
it
scene.
kind of gave that closure, and then it showed us that like those spirits were not that bad. That like yes, you can't look at the other ones, but
Sure,
that they gave that family a pass, kind of like a free pass to be like, okay, you did this thing and kind of unearth treasure that wasn't supposed to be touched,
sure.
but we're gonna forgive you because your dad is like the leader of the pack. It seems.
Well, let's talk about the other things that didn't work for you. So, like, no film was perfect. This one here
Hmm.
clocks in at 2 hours and 5 minutes. Lots
Yeah.
packed in, but there's a lot of spaces for error, at least from my point of view. What didn't work for you in this piece of Finding Ohana?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted the adventure to start sooner. Like, it was a 2 hour movie, and like, kids are going to watch this. So, trying to think about that. And, I wanted it the first like hour, because you really didn't get into the adventure until about an hour in, right? If I'm tracking
Yeah,
that right, around
moving so,
there. And
right?
so, I kind of wanted it to, to lead up sooner,
Yeah.
what didn't work for you?
So yeah, it was definitely a feeling of a lot of red herrings in the plotting, right? Like, I guess
Hmm.
you want to establish that P. Lee was an adventurous person, but I really thought there was going to be a bigger incident that was going to take her back to the homeland of Hawaii. It makes sense. Taking care of dad, hate granddad, hate the fact that granddad's terribly kept home still looks fancier than mine. I was like, do I have to clean my room? Because is it that bad? I
I
have
mean,
no idea.
it's gorgeous, right? Like the open windows, the
Right?
beautiful palm,
They're
and
like, what is this
prawns and
place? Where's the Wi-Fi?
tropical oasis, right?
Also, it was to me it was kind of easy. I mean, I know it's a kind of a
Yeah,
trope, but that was kind of
yeah.
easy for.
It is. The whole movie was a trope, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But the mom is being like, geocaching, cool. Go ahead and do things by yourself, girl. Like she was running amok in New York, and
yeah,
I guess it's not foreign land, but this other land that she's not used to is being also, yeah, go with your sister. We're gonna have a good time. So that to me was the biggest plot hole. But again, it's
yeah,
kind of harmless. I think it's one of those
yeah.
shows that you put on when you have kids over, but you don't have to like be really attentive to
Yeah,
what's
I mean,
going
I think
on.
it's super family friendly. So like, kids could watch this with their friends, and it's not anything like it's super fun and like, not anything bad. It's not too scary. I think. I mean, the one thing that I feel like they um I totally lost my train of thought. I don't remember.
I
What
got-
are the other things? What are some other things you didn't like?
No, no. Well, I wanted to ask you a question about the reenactments. I think
Okay.
single-handedly it
Oh
was
my
like
god.
it was awesome, but then sometimes I felt maybe in my old age it was hard to follow up points. It was weird. I
Okay.
like the voiceover, but your thoughts about this?
Oh, I was like, oh, this is Drunk History. Have you seen Drunk History?
I've seen Ant-Man, the same thing. Well, Luis is like,
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is Drunk History. And so I don't know. I found it, oh, like it worked for me. And the only reason it worked for me is because it was the child's imagination going wild. So she has this notebook, and so the pages and like the pages are coming to life for her and her brother, everyone on this journey. And so and I loved that moment in the cave where the brother and her and E are like they're going back and forth with what's in the journal, and it's reenacted. And so they're like, no, this isn't the way it happened. And so that was the moment where I was like, oh, this is Drunk History, where they're retelling the story in their own voice and like have these kind of like cheesy kind of reenactors. So I felt like it worked just because it was from a child's perspective.
yeah, definitely that scene in there where they were trying to like come up with what it would be because they lost him.
Yeah, they're like, well, we don't know how to get out of here.
So one of the twists that were revealed was when Granddad said he figured it out years before and realized they were enchanted or have kapu and decided to leave the thing. Looking back on it, they do the elements of it. Did the movie play fair? Did the movie play fair that to say, hey, look, he actually found it beforehand, or was that like a giant surprise to you or swerve?
Well, it didn't surprise me because that's why he was so protective of the journal and was so upset, because he was like putting it away so other people wouldn't be able to find it. But of course, you know, his granddaughter, who is an adventurer, happens to find it, right? Yeah. And that's like the catalyst of the story is like, oh, found the biggest treasure of all, which is this journal. And that's what he tried to say, was like, oh, this is the treasure. You don't need to go searching. But it was like he still wanted her to find it, because like, why would they go on that island and go and find, like there was adventures, he kind of encouraged it, because I think he saw a little bit of himself in her, and they were trying to reconnect because it was been so long.
If I had grandkids, that's the name of the game. Yeah, to me, I didn't realize until he was like, I had to look at the Spanish words and translate them, because apparently Peely knows Spanish because everyone thought she was Puerto Rican. I thought it was the most New York thing ever. I was like, yeah, we all think you're Puerto Rican, you know Spanish. But yeah, when he said that, I was like, okay, that's someone that took time. They probably figured it out. Don't worry about it, that sort of thing. So I think it played fair, but then it was kind of like a late reveal towards the end. Sentiment. Family is a big part of this movie. Family's in the title. Did it work for you overall with the passing of the ancestors and the generational pull and the cultural responsibility, or was it all too much? I think that's a big question I have for you with this film.
Yeah, no, I think it all worked together. I don't think I have any issues with it. I think, it worked with, I like that big decision at the end when they, decide to stay in Hawaii, and it helped kind of bridge that tension that they had, and like it's totally believable, and I think it's just it's a big family friendly movie, so you're gonna want that like happy ending.
To put you on the spot real quick, do you remember an adventure you had when you were a kid at all?
Oh my, as a kid, oh my gosh. I would go, my sister and I loved going hiking, and we'd go, I remember my mom would go on road trips, and we'd go hiking in these caves in Arizona. And I remember my sister and I went off at one point, and like we found these, like, I remember vividly these like paintings on the wall, right? Ooh. And I was like a rock collector as a kid, so I was all like, "Oh, so cool. Let's get that rock!" I was the coolest kid.
I agree. I agree.
I was super cool.
Got to catch them all, man.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, exactly. All the shiny ones. And so I remember I was like always like like when I was outdoors, I was like trying to like analyze things and dig things up, and that was like, I was always hands on, trying to find
Yeah.
like the next thing I could, show my parents, who were like, throw that out,
Oh wow. Well, I guess I was a lot more violent when I was a kid. When I was a kid, there was like this, like we had a row of houses. This is in Brooklyn, a row of houses, and we had a communal backyard that we would drive and park our cars on dirt. Yes, dirt exists in Brooklyn. Anyway, behind this, yeah, exactly. People are like, what? Trees? We had a peach tree in my backyard. I mean, come on. I didn't.
Wow.
I see, no one believes that, but the squirrels got to them. So my dad chopped it down and
Oh
grew herbs instead. Squirrels hate herbs. In the back, there was an old beat down car that we would go and take our broomsticks to beat the hell out of.
Oh my God.
So that was the adventure. Like, oh man, we're gonna go down to the beat car. Like, it was the most Brooklyn thing ever.
Oh,
just to go out and buy the next.
I remember I would climb trees all the time. So like my sister and like all her friends in the neighborhood would go and they'd play, like, we were into, it would be like, we'd all like pick different characters, like cops and, like a witch and a lion, I don't know, random characters, right? And I remember we all, like, I got stuck being something that got stuck in a tree because my sister, so I remember I would still continually climb that tree, and then they would leave and I would get stuck every time.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so we would always, literally, I don't know if this was the same for you, but my parents were always like, go play outside.
Yeah,
so like we were literally like, we weren't sitting at the TV, we didn't really watch TV, only on Saturday mornings, cartoons, right? You gotta watch your Saturday morning cartoons, and maybe Friday night, but I remember it was always like, go do stuff outside, go find something to do, go roll down a hill with your bike, I don't know.
Yeah, I think now you can't even do that anymore. You might get like in trouble with your parent and tell your kids to play.
I know, right? We'd be gone for like hours at a time, and my parents would like not care.
Yeah, see you at sundown. All right.
Come back for dinner and like make sure you're cleaned up.
It's weird, huh? Generations change just like that.
Totally.
Just real quick, I just want to have in my notes here that I totally respected the shade that lost. Came out of nowhere. Greatly appreciated. I thought it was awesome. Shout out to Casper for that. Again, like I said at the top of the show, Finding Ohana currently has a 6.2 IMDb rating and an 88% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Emily May on a 10.0 scale. Where do you rate this one? Finding Ohana on Netflix.
I'm going to give it a 7 because it has beautiful scenery. It's just gorgeous and it has a good message. And it's just like a really fun movie. I think, there's some plot holes, but I think overall it's pretty well done.
I think 7 is fair. That's what I'm going with too. Like it's above average. Yeah, above average. It's actually part of Netflix's Representation Matters collection. So
I love it.
Yeah, I love the fact that they're pushing. So people always say, "Hey, look, it's not the most unique plot lines for these kind of movies," but at the same time, the fact that they exist, I like to call them the big dumb movies for different people, exist means that we are moved past the point of making movies about the struggle. And not to get my soapbox here, but for a long time, movies starring black people were about black struggle. It was about like overcoming slavery or racism, which are very, very important. But I remember about 10 years ago, I went to see Red Tails, which was this big, dumb war movie with pilots from World War II that was completely historically inaccurate. And I said, that's the progression. So I like the fact, yes, it's about Hawaii. She's a Hawaiian girl. There's no doubt about that. But it's not necessarily like you can only appreciate it if you were Hawaiian. So
exactly,
I think 7 is a pretty solid score in my estimation as well. But
and so you need to go to Hawaii though. I'm going to say that you need to go to Hawaii, and I was trying to look up the location because I think that's part of the cliff shots were Jurassic Park. I think, but I'm going to double check. I'm going to check on it. But
it's funny you mentioned
that. You can
tour.
One
of my best friends from college is getting married in Maui, and his hashtag is getting Mauied. I think I have worked that weekend, but if I do not, I mean, I'll be the first time I would
You need to get Mauied.
You know me and puns, Emily May. You know me and puns.
I know you love them. them.
No, I hate them. That's the opposite.
I know.
Totally. What are you doing? don't lie to the crowd. I enjoyed it. Check it out if you can. Definitely a good family film. Definitely a film that if there's no kids around, grandma won't be too offended by. which is the opposite of adult
Exactly.
films.
I don't even think there was a bad word in there.
Nope. Well, they did balls twice, but come on. That's
Oh,
not really a bad
okay.
word.
Wow.
Emily May, thank you so much for rolling with me, just hacking
Of
through this,
course.
even though we don't have any children to watch it with.
It's all good.
Yeah, you have Rent-A-Kid somewhere. Where
Yeah.
can the world find you online for all the other things you're working on?
Yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms at Emily May Heller. You can catch Women's Wrestling Talk on Tuesdays. We have a new interview that drops every week. And then Monday, my special show, Pro Wrestling Pets, where I interview wrestlers and their pets, is coming again on Monday. So you got to check it out because it is the most fun I've had in such a long time. I've interviewed dogs, cats, bunnies. I have lizards coming up. It's just so awesome.
So, full disclosure, when you said pro wrestling pets, I thought they'd be actually wrestling, but this is a better idea of just having them hang out with their owners.
Well, I did have a discussion with someone about getting all of the pro wrestling dogs or cats and having a pro wrestling Royal Rumble, pro wrestling pets
goodness.
Royal Rumble.
That'd be
And
adorable.
I think it's kind of phenomenal, and do it as if they do the puppy bowl.
Yeah.
And do that, and oh my god, I think it would be huge. Get like people to host it, and I think it could be a big thing.
Gotta get Jim Ross in commentary. Like, listen, bog on. What a tackle.
Oh my goodness.
This has been Flobo on Netflix. Make sure you follow the podcast version, the audio version. And if you don't want that, if you want the video version, make sure you check out youtube.com/FloboBoys. And until next time, we'll see you at the